I mean, these kids are getting into drugs so young these days, it's scary.
The first summer I was here, I just have heard stuff about it.
They're going right for the hard drugs like heroin.
I was curious. I wanted to know why everyone else was doing it and what was so great about it.
Oh, it was unbelievable. There was no other high like it.
The first time I used it, I sniffed. I was only sniffing then.
One of the easiest things to get around here. It's easier to get heroin than it is a joint.
It was just a real relaxing, peaceful, you didn't care about, nothing bothered you.
I don't know, it's probably one of the best feelings I've ever had. Like, you do it and all of a sudden, your whole body you just go like mellow.
No, like I feel that you are peaceful, like while you're on it. I don't know, you're just so relaxed.
Because it presents itself as something other than what it really is.
And I got really sick from it, really sick. I remember I was throwing up blood and I thought...
Your eyes are like yellow, throwing up for no reason. There's little track marks all over your arms.
Throwing up blood and I thought that I would never do this again.
Well, he really started to drop weight fast.
I only did it on the weekends at first.
Real gray looking. His eyes were always glassy.
And then it became an everyday thing after a couple weeks.
We talked right before she died on that Friday, and she was very concerned that heroin had taken over.
I basically, bowed down to it.
No, at first I was scared of the needle, but you soon came used to it as an everyday part of living.
The bill I used to put it up my nose was my temple. And
you were just real calm and peaceful.
The bag itself was like my holy cross.
Just an unbelievable high.
And the powder was my God. It's just how it works.
Those are just some of the people you will meet in the next half hour. All of them caught in a trap, the heroin trap. This drug has been around for many years, but we're seeing a big resurgence in a frighteningly young age group. Next, you will learn where this heroin is coming from and how easy it is to get, even in your hometown. So what is heroin, and why is it taking over our young people? Is it expensive? Is it difficult to get? To answer those questions, we came here to Philadelphia, where the heroin is among the purest in the nation, and the supply is plentiful.
You know where you are! You're in the jungle, baby! You're gonna die! In the jungle! Welcome to the jungle!
A weekday morning in North Philadelphia, the Kensington neighborhood is hopping with business. This is where an innocent-looking powder is bought and sold under many brand names. It's easy to get and cheap to buy.
Pretty much one dosage unit of heroin costs about $10 in Philadelphia.
The majority of heroin comes from Colombia, South America. Drug lords turn poppy seeds into heroin, a morphine derivative. Couriers bring it to America on commercial airlines.
And that is both concealment within luggage, within clothes, and at times people actually swallow pellets of drugs in order to smuggle those quantities of drugs into the United States.
Welcome to the jungle, it gets worse here every day.
Groups rent streets or blocks to set up sales. Hundreds of people are involved. Some prepare and bag the drug, some sell it, and some provide security and police lookouts. This makes it tough for narcotics cops to penetrate street corners. Still, they've managed to make more than 10,500 arrests in just the first half of this year. Does it make a difference?
The time we're here, we do what we have to do. And long term, I can't predict what the impact, what kind of impact that would have.
More than 1,000 of those arrested do not live in Philadelphia. This woman is from Juniata and is in rehab for heroin addiction.
How do I feel right now? Like an ass, like a complete, total ass, like a failure, like everything. Like I've failed everyone. I've failed my family, I've failed everyone because I've been doing wonderful.
Despite the money that flows through this neighborhood, the drug trade has destroyed it. There is trash everywhere, burned shells of cars and murals to the dead. More than a fourth of the city's murders happen here, and there are always overdose cases.
And that's been the serious problem that we've had here, is that people that are buying the drugs on the streets don't know exactly what type of purity they're getting.
About 500 users in the city area OD and die each year. Philadelphia's heroin is the purest in the nation.
The average in '97 was 80%. We have it going as high, though, as the mid-90s.
In other cities, the purity is closer to 60%. A higher purity means a user can smoke or snort the drug rather than inject it, making it more attractive to teens.
It's definitely not something to be proud of for law enforcement, of course. For the drug dealers, for them, it becomes something to brag about.
Something to brag about. Remember those words as we tour through central Pennsylvania, our hometowns. They seem a far cry from Philadelphia. And while the effects of heroin abuse aren't as obvious here, they are every bit as devastating.
I got butterflies in my stomach the whole way there. I mean, I was just real excited. I mean, just to, go down there and not get caught, bring all these drugs back and do them and sell them. I mean, you got real excited. I mean, we'd do drugs as soon as we got back on the Schuylkill.
The lifestyle of a dealer provides a rush all its own. Tim Hope never had a problem selling in small towns.
It's very easy, because most of the people you associate with yourself with do it. So you just call one up and it goes right around the little circle that you have it. It goes very quickly.
Tim bought his supply in Philadelphia.
People all over the streets. You find the person you usually copped off of, you get your dope and you leave. We just kind of trusted the guy. Whatever he had, we got.
Tim probably wouldn't have tried heroin if he'd had to inject it.
I mean, I had friends that did it, but I just didn't want to take that chance, or the chance of getting hepatitis or AIDS.
Sniffing makes heroin easier to try, and the high purity means the addiction is quick.
He was going to Philly too. He was buying it locally, but it was 2 to 3 trips to Philly a week. He also told me about the streets of the Badlands of Philadelphia, that when he was clean, he said, I can't even believe I was in one of those kind of places. He says, because you would have to be high to even go into one of them places.
But Debbie Fisher's son Matthew would brave anything to get heroin. The Fishers live in rural Duncannon, Perry County.
We did everything together. I mean, him, and he hunted with his dad, and we had a very close relationship, especially him and I. I mean, and he hurt me very badly.
19-year-old Matthew was using for 6 months before his parents found out.
He started looking bad. He had a job, a full-time job, but never had any money. He conned his grandparents, which there's my parents, saying, don't tell my mom, I'll pay you back when I get paid on Friday, but I need a new part for my car, it's only $50.
The desperation is something Paul Sadler can identify with too. He would steal whatever he could in and around Ephrata.
I went through like $7,000. And most of the money wasn't even mine. It was just, a lot of it was bouncing checks for different stuff.
Paul began sniffing 1 bag a day. It quickly increased to 8 bags. Though he started by sniffing, his addiction was so strong, he says no method would have deterred him from getting high.
You could have told me that I would have had to slit my wrist and rub the heroin in there, and I would have done it. It just wouldn't have mattered as long as I could have got it in my body.
The 22-year-old lost his job, his car, and his apartment. This was his home through the winter months. He lost lots of weight.
I went from 147 to 120 within a couple weeks.
None of this concerned you. Unfortunately, nothing concerns a heroin addict.
There is a town that we were involved in a case with, which is a pretty small town in this area, in which we've learned that they estimate 200 heroin addicts between the age of 13 and 20, and 100 of them positive for hepatitis or HIV.
Heroin is a great concern for the Drug Enforcement Administration. Agents see deals happening in Harrisburg, Lancaster, Reading, pretty much everywhere. Just look at the numbers of admissions for heroin rehab in 1998. Every county in our area has at least 2 dozen. These are public assistance numbers. Imagine how many more are in private treatment or no treatment. The drug renders its victims helpless, destroying their lives. Some call heroin an imposter.
Because it presents itself as something other than what it really is. And it's unfortunate, but by the time an individual finds out about the deceit of heroin, it's too late.
For some, it is too late. Not everyone makes it on the road to recovery. The incredible stories of 2 teenagers when we return. February 11th, 1998. An 18-year-old girl is found dead on the banks of the Yellow Breeches Creek. It is the final act in the torture that was her life on drugs.
We battled with the addictions, starting with inhaling.
Angela Smith was adopted at age 10 by a minister and his wife in Mechanicsburg. Before that, she suffered emotional and physical abuse.
She could have been a poster child for adoption because she was absolutely just a dream child. But we were told stuff would resurface, and unfortunately we thought love would be enough to conquer that.
The inhalants led to drugs. She ran away from home numerous times and was in and out of 11 different treatment centers.
She said, I have to. I can't help myself. I can't help myself. We had her in and out of places. One of the things they said was that she had self-destructive syndrome.
Angie's path led to heroin.
And I went over there and I charged through the door, you know, and I grabbed her and I said, ran her to a mirror, and I showed her in the mirror and I said, what are you doing to yourself, Angela? Why are you doing this? You know, but I had no clue that heroin changes your brain chemistry.
Angie did try a rehab clinic, but eventually ran away. One night, she injected herself twice and died. She lay for 24 hours. Then her party mates dumped her body.
Her pants were down around her knees and she had rocks embedded in her back.
She died just 3 months after trying heroin. You might think Angie's the exception, a troubled child with an abusive past. But Eli Bender was the all-American boy.
He loved nature, animals. I think, too, he believed in magic.
Eli grew up surrounded by nature in a middle-class home in Mount Gretna.
We were always happy to see him. I was still reading to him every morning while he was having breakfast before going to school.
It was a normal household in every sense, with attentive parents.
School nights, he had to be home after supper. And I think he was just about the only one in the group that had to do that. He was here with his cat, you know, watching TV, reading with us.
At age 17, Eli got hooked on heroin. His parents had no idea he drove to Philadelphia to buy drugs after school.
That was his free time every day. He had 3 hours, and that seemed reasonable at 17 to have 3 hours worth of free time.
Police arrested Eli. He too went to rehab. Listen to the goodbye letter he wrote to the drug.
Dear Heroin, the first time we met on A&M American, it was love at first sight. It was like I had to be with you every single day, and if not, I felt lovesick. Every time I was with you was a good time. I just can't stop thinking about you. Every time I go to bed, I lay there and I picture you. Sometimes I think I can even feel you in me and taste you. I know it was one of my worst mistakes to fall in lust with you, but if I could go back in time, I know I'd probably do it all over again. I will always love and miss you, but I have to save myself. Goodbye, love always, Eli.
After 28 days, Eli came home. Withdrawal played with his brain and his sleep. Living without heroin was torture.
He would sleep sometimes 2 to 3 hours, go to school, start to get tired in the afternoon. Sometimes he'd fall asleep and the kids would make fun of him.
No one understood. Just a week and a half later, Eli overdosed. His parents found him in his room.
And I remember I touched his foot, and it was cold. I think you just go into a different place when this happens. Physically, you can feel it. It's like being hit. Your arms ache. The ones you use for holding.
In his room, Eli's desk remains exactly as he left it. It's a reminder, like the tree that waves in his memory.
And he's always here, it seems. But it's not the same. He's always there. I always think of him. Everything is different now. It's like you don't get over this, ever. There is no getting over this. It's a different life now.
A different kind of life for Eli's family, for Angie's family, and for so many others. Could anything have prevented this unimaginable pain? The experts say every child is at risk.
There is a denial in the community that there's, we have alcohol here, there's pot here, but there's not heroin, not here.
It is a small but determined group made of parents, police, and counselors. They're forming a task force to educate people about heroin.
I wasn't educated about the drug to be able to even to know where to go to get the help.
Ignorance is the drug's strongest weapon. Debbie Fisher went to a parent support group in Perry County.
And then that's when they had really educated me on what I was looking for, because I didn't know I was looking for heroin.
She went regularly and learned a lot.
Every 2 weeks when we went, we would hear something new that we would go home and pick up on. Like, well, wow, that's what they said what their son did, and this is what Matt's doing.
She learned the symptoms of addiction.
Their money. I mean, they go through money. Things start missing. The changing in their eating habits. You know, they don't eat. They want to have the windows open in the middle of the winter because they're hot all the time. They sit there and they break out into a sweat.
One thing I noticed, I didn't realize that it happened, is that he tended to have less eye contact.
When these signs appear and rehab doesn't work, choices must be made.
And my husband said, I would rather see him go to jail than die with a drug overdose or back on the streets living and selling to maybe other kids.
Pretty tough stuff, but an option these parents support.
When they're on a drug like that, they'll do anything, steal, lie, cheat, whatever they have to do to get the drug. So to protect the rest of your family, you can't have them living there.
State police were ready and waiting, but Matthew opted for long-term counseling in New England. Debbie cleaned out his room and will not let him come home.
He's clean. He's having a rough time right now. It's a year anniversary for him, and they tell me that sometimes this does happen.
He's winning the battle for now, but when children lose the battle, parents wonder if they'd known more, would it have helped?
If I knew there were drugs here, I would have wondered who there. Then I would have known there were kids here doing drugs, because it wouldn't have been outsiders most likely coming in. And there is only so many teenagers here.
Counselors say there is no foolproof way to ensure a child stays clear of drugs.
To shield you or ensure, no. To minimize, sure. Communication is one of the strongest weapons that parents have with their kids.
As well as an understanding of what you are up against.
You're not fighting your child, you're fighting the drug, and that doesn't work. And you think, oh, if they love us enough, they'll stop. They can't.
And the question is, why can't they? Heroin is one of the toughest drugs to beat, but there are those who do it. Their stories when we return. Getting clean and staying clean is one of the greatest challenges in an addict's life. It takes tremendous determination and often more than one try.
All I did was hustle for money and get high. And I had the money, I got high. And I made sure I had the money every day.
Melanie was doing 15 bags of heroin a day.
My family disowned me. They didn't want nothing to do with me. And I really had to take a look at that.
Usually an addict must hit rock bottom before trying to quit.
I had someone that owed me $5 or half a bag, and they didn't give it to me. And we got into an argument, and I was really upset them, and they made me mad, and I threw a 3-liter bottle of wine right through their front window.
I got to a point where the person I was living with left She took my 2 girls with her.
Often, the first attempt at getting clean doesn't last.
It was only a matter of time. Like, I already knew I was going to relapse. It's just when I saw the right person.
Then it takes another wake-up call.
The second realization for me is when I was pregnant, I continued to use. And I went to jail when my daughter was six days old.
Melanie got clean in jail and has stayed clean for 18 months.
I called my mom and said, hey, really messed up on drugs, I need some help. She took me down to this place, did drug and alcohol evaluations, and then they sent me off to rehab.
Tim was clean for 5 years, then was given morphine for back surgery. He relapsed. Now he's been clean since April. Essentially, rehab has worked for him.
You just have to really want it. I mean, you just have to really want to change your life. If you don't change your life, you'll never stay clean.
The desire to get clean must outweigh the hell of withdrawal.
You get the cold sweats. You get cramping in your stomach and your legs. You feel like, I describe it as, I feel like I had the flu, but I want to jump out of my skin.
And when I withdraw, I feel like my back and chest were caving in. My heart pumped like really fast. I'd breathe out, and as soon as I'd breathe out, I'd throw up.
Paul has not had professional counseling, but he's a regular at TRAC, which stands for Teens Responding to Adult Caring and Kindness.
So we fund the ability to kids for the ability to stay in school. We help them with homework.
They'll also buy food and haircuts, do laundry for the kids, and advise them on finding jobs. They are not counselors, but they do a lot of listening.
There's a lot of complaining, a lot of my life was so hard and my mother she's been married 3 times, and it's just more of that complaining, you don't know how hard it was for me, and my attitude towards that is there are no excuses.
It's this message that's empowered Paul to kick heroin. He's been clean 7 weeks. It presents a whole new life.
I've walked around this town and noticed things that I know they've been here the whole time I've been here, but I've never seen them. Like the color of the sky or something.
When you're high, you don't feel any pain, guilt, nothing. I mean, you feel all that when you're clean.
Life for me being clean is great. I have my daughter back in my life. My parents finally trust me again.
I've got a place to live again. Got a job now. I've got better friends. It's a lot nicer. I'm working my way back up instead of more down.
But this new life is a shaky existence. They do not consider themselves cured. Heroin will always be there.
I can feel it's like, if it was talking about it like we are now, honestly, if there was a bag here, I'd probably do it because my mind just says, you want it, but I have to tell myself, I can't have it.
I mean, it's just part of life, You're an addict and you always will be.
I'm still an addict.
And why do you say that?
Because I'll always be an addict. If I forget, I'll go back.
And we'll keep our fingers crossed that they stay clean. We hope that you've learned more about heroin and its dangers. And if you or someone you know is struggling with heroin addiction, understand you're not alone and there is help and a way out of the heroin trap.